Hey everybody, we're going to go over some of the primary social theories today. Since we are now doing this in an online format, I thought I would upload this video for you to kind of give you a broad-based idea of some of these theories. So here we go. In order to best understand a variety of social phenomena, it's important that any social scientist have a good grasp of the three primary social theories. In this class, we'll use each of these theories throughout the course of the semester. We can apply each of these theories in some way to help us explain why society operates the way it does. Imagine each of these theories as a tool that can be used to complete a job. The larger the toolkit we possess, the better we can approach and solve problems. First major theory is functionalism. Just as the name implies, we're interested in how different parts of our social world work, in harmony with each other, how they function together. There are a few analogies that work pretty well here. Think of society as a human body. If there's a large issue with one part, for example, the liver, many other parts may run into issues and probably cease functioning altogether. Then the entire body may die. So society is really no different. When we think about something in society being problematic, for example, terrorism, if we have too much terrorism, well, that can bring the entire whole down. Not at once, but relatively quickly. So when you think of functionalism, think about equilibrium, think about homeostasis, maybe even cool, calm waters on the ocean, right? We want balance, we want order. If we don't have this, we have chaos, and things start to get pretty messy pretty quickly. It can be argued that anything that happens is functional. Some occurrences more so than others. For instance, death is functional. Yes, we're often taught to believe that death is negative, it is bad, and it certainly is. However, imagine a world where no one died. We would certainly run into a lack of land, resources, and the ability to survive would be quite a bit different. Therefore, our world is built upon the fact that death exists and always will exist. If you look at a population clock, you'll see that the birth rate in the U.S. is slightly higher than the death rate. This is functional. This is a good thing. We have plenty of people alive to help society run smoothly. Yet, what if our birth rate far outpaced our death rate? Now we have a problem. Now we have way too many people. But what if our death rate far outpaced our birth rate? Not enough people then, right? So we're kind of starting to see how functionalism works. Now we'll move on to conflict theory. Conflict theory is about a constant fight for scarce resources among competing social actors. We struggle to get the best job, the best wage, the best deal on our house or our car, and we're always going against others, not necessarily individuals, but organizations, groups that are there to try and assert their power over us. More importantly, we struggle for political rights and freedoms. Sociology is all about power. The more power you have, the more access you have to many things in life. In a capitalist economy like the one in which we live, money is placed on a pedestal. Power equals money, money equals power. They go hand in hand. When considering conflict theory, think about the childhood game of King of the Hill. The point of the game is to try to get to the top of that hill and stay there as long as possible by any means necessary. So life is basically just this really long game of King of the Hill. Getting a good job, being financially sound represent winning that game because, hey, it's capitalism. That's how we do it. Some players have better resources, the better ability to get to the top of that hill than others. And as we'll talk about further in this semester, education is one of those best resources you can have to get yourself to the top of that hill. Karl Marx, one of the most influential conflict theorists, argues that there are two main classes of individuals, the bourgeoisie and the proletariat. The bourgeoisie, the owners, the elite, the capitalists, own the means of production, such as land, capital, buildings, machines, factories. They then exploit the labor of others in order to make a profit for themselves. The proletariat, average folks like you and me, they only own their own labor power. They must work for the wages offered by the bourgeoisie or whatever company they're working for, whoever is the boss. That means they're the ones doing the most of the work, but they're not rewarded in the same way as the person who owns the business or those who are much, much higher up in the business. So there's a constant struggle between labor and capital. The owner always seeks the highest profit by paying the employees the lowest wage and offering few benefits. On the other hand, the worker wants the highest wage possible and the most protection so they can move up that social class ladder. One of the best ways of looking at conflict theory is in terms of laws. Many laws are not set up in order to actually protect the public. That's the guise. Rather, they're done as money-making ventures so that other entities can exist and prosper financially. We'll talk about that a little bit more as we move on in the semester. This is particularly true in terms of the criminal justice system, the prison system in our country. So any law that is passed, one group wins, and then a lot of other people tend to lose. This is particularly true. We talk about the war on drugs. The people who won that war, the people who own the prisons. People who lose are your small-time drug offenders, usually people who are non-violent, just trying to make a buck to survive in this society. So it's particularly true when we talk about capitalism, consumption, wealth accumulation. There's always going to be that antagonistic relationship, that butting of heads. That's what conflict theory is all about, the fight for that resources. Finally, we're going to look at symbolic interaction, our third major theoretical position. This theory argues that symbols have a great deal of meaning in our lives. A wave, a handshake, these are all things that convey something without actually having to say anything. Nonverbal cues, personal space, posture, right? Speak a lot. If I'm laying back like this tells you something much more different than if I'm sitting like this. Okay? You don't have to have me tell you that. Okay? There's a bit of philosophy involved here. So the way we name items, the names we give them, the way we use them are kind of all in line. For example, a chair is just a chair until I stand on it and reach something higher up. Now it's a ladder. Right? What if it's a really big chair and I'm a really small person? Right? And I lay on that chair. Well, now it becomes a bed. Right? So that the way that we name things is very symbolic. There has to be a consensus around us in terms of how we label and identify things. That's how we socialize people to say, hey, that's a chair, you should sit in it, rather than lay on it. Okay? Imagine if you were going to one of your classrooms and lay on the desk. People would probably look at you like you're kind of weird or odd or deviant. Okay? Even though it would serve just the same purpose as any other space that could be lay on the same thing. So this shapes our world and how we interact with others in it. As another example, think about a wedding band, right? This has very little inherent meaning. It's just a piece of metal. It's round, right? But because it's on this finger, and because we all have all been told that when you wear a ring on this finger, it's supposed to mean that you are married, off the market. It also means something else, compassion, dedication, unselfishness, and so on. But we're the ones who make those considerations. We're the ones who decide that's what it means. So humans decide what is real and what is not. We could wrap a bread tie around our finger, and that would be the thing that we get when we're married. It just so happens we use these, or some things with a bunch of big diamonds on them. So it's not the material, but the ideas surrounding it that are important. We talk about the consensus being important for legitimacy. Think about medicine. A lot of us think something could be considered legitimate medicine has to come in a pill form, or maybe a liquid. What about medical marijuana? Maybe not smoking it per se, but when people think marijuana, they think of a drug, an illicit drug, something that's illegal. However, there are millions of people out there who will argue that marijuana is a legitimate drug to be used to help symptoms in a variety of illnesses and diseases. Talk about it a little bit more as we move forward. So there you go, just a snapshot about these three major social theories. I want you to keep in mind as we move throughout the semester. We'll talk about them in more detail as we move forward, but until next time.